Fela Durotoye, who is the presidential candidate of Alliance for New Nigeria, is not just a politician, but also a business consultant, leadership expert, and motivational speaker. He's the president of GEMSTONE Nation Builders Foundation, a non-profit, non-governmental organization targeted at training youths towards transformation, leadership, and social change. We're now being joined by him from Arise News London studios to look at what he hopes to bring to the table if he gets voted in as the president of Nigeria. Glad to have you join us, Fela Durotoye. All right, now, Fela.
It's great to be here on Arise Africa.
All right, tell us what you're actually doing in London at the time. Good morning. At the time that you should be wrapping up your campaigns for the election in 2 weeks.
Well, thank you for that question, and I'm sure a lot of people are wondering. Well, this is part of the campaign. One of the things that we have shared over the years is that our campaign strategy has been focused on getting those who typically are not involved in voting to vote, because they are the larger percentage of the voting public. In 2015, you would remember that 96 million people were above the age of 18, 68 million of them had voters' cards, and only 28 million votes went to both the conventional parties, as we would call them. So a whole 40 million voters who had voters' cards, registered voters' cards, did not vote. That has always been our target audience. And for us, a key element of that demographic is the diaspora. They are the ones who typically advise and fund that voting public. So we're here, again, telling those who are in diaspora, getting them to call all the people that they usually send money home to. And this is for us a very big part of what it is that is driving us and driving our strategy. The diasporans send about $22 billion home in 2017. They send that money home, but usually do not give an instruction to go with it. Now we're asking them, tell the people that are at home, who normally do not take any money from the politicians, but just don't vote. Tell them to go and vote, and tell them to vote for a new Nigeria. So this is part of a very core part of our campaign strategy.
All right, now, let's talk about Pact for a bit. The new political alliance which you have committed to work within its framework towards the forthcoming elections. How well is that going?
Well, Pact has gone well. You know, Pact was an idea of getting a coalition amongst presidential aspirants and that idea came really as a response to the cries of the let me say the younger electorate, who said, look, we want to be able to put all of our votes in one direction. Don't let's split our votes down the line. And so the idea was hatched in June, July last year, and we worked towards building or finding a consensus amongst us. In the end, there were 10 aspirants that chose to, support one, or chose to find one candidate, and it turns out that I was one that emerged from that process. Since then, 8 of those candidates have stayed together, including myself. So 8 out of 10, I think, is a good number. Pact has worked well, but right now, beyond aspirants, we now need a coalition of candidates, and that we're working on. And the talks are going pretty well, especially between the parties of the various frontline candidates.
All right. You, alongside Kingsley Moalu and Obi Ezekwesili, were applauded by cross sections of Nigerians for your performance at the presidential debate in Abuja. How much wind would you say that performance brought under your sails?
Well, I think that the debates, especially, and the goodwill that we saw from the way that Nigerians reacted to the fact that we showed up to tell Nigerians, our plans for how to move this nation forward. And unfortunately, the two conventional parties showed a level of what would seem like arrogance and disdain for the Nigerian people, and did not even bother to show up on stage. I mean, former Vice President Atiku actually showed up in the hall, but didn't come on stage. And that I think Nigerians got the message. these guys don't really care much about us. They haven't much. We've always known they didn't. And so for us, I think it helped to show the difference between the new, what I'll call the new generation of nation builders who care and respect the voters and are willing to serve them, and the old generation of politicians who really, are there to rule, are there for power, and they don't really care much. And so I think it's helped so much to separate us, and now people are clear what the 2019 elections is about. It's about the difference between the past and the future. It's about the difference between politicians who rule and nation builders who build. And I think that was very good for us.
I see you're careful not to call yourself a politician. But anyway, would you say for sure that Nigerians would make last-minute radical choices by deviating from the two biggest political parties in the land?
Well, I think that the biggest radical choice that we really need Nigerians to make is between the choice of, not between the two parties, but the choice of whether to vote or not to vote. And for us, that has been the most important thing. Remember what I started with. I said 40 million people had voters' cards who chose not to vote. I call them the floaters. You see, so 2015, we had 28 million voters and 40 million floaters. All through this campaign, I have been very clear that the floaters are the ones that I'm concerned about. Because the voters typically have been incentivized by money, and you can never, first of all, it's not our style to go and bribe people to say, vote for us. That's what the politicians do. What the currency of the people, of the floaters, is not money, it's belief. So you've got to take a message that is believable to them. You've got to take it from a believable personality, from using credible platforms, credible people, and that, I think, is what we brought to the table this time around, is to activate the overwhelming majority that typically does not vote. And that is going to be the radical change that will surprise the political class in the next couple of weeks.
All right,
it's going to be a very pleasant surprise.
Okay, very pleasant surprise you could talk about there, Fela Durotoye. Now let's talk about your policies and why Nigerians should vote for you.
Well, let me start by saying that I'm just here to lead the aspiration of Nigerians. Nigerians, I believe, should first of all decide that we're voting for a new Nigeria, and that new Nigeria must be a nation where people are able to find jobs and happiness, people are able to find opportunity, and businesses are able to find a business-friendly government that helps them to succeed as we secure the lives and property of our people and improve their standard and the quality of their lives. So the standard of living and the quality of their lives. So this is what this is about. It's about securing the lives and property, improving the quality of life and the standard of living. It's about giving people, everyone, the opportunities to succeed, the opportunities to pursue their life's dreams and aspirations, and making sure that those opportunities are not just for a privileged few, but for everyone. We say it this way, that we would love to see a nation where the son of a nobody can become somebody without knowing anybody. And that's the best way to capture what's in the heart of the Alliance for New Nigeria. Opportunities for all, where anyone can go to school and get good education from public schools like I got. When I went to a public school, it prepared me for leadership in life and success in life.
All right.
So that's the kind of thing. And to do this, there are 4 key things that we want to do. Number 1, we want to reduce the cost of governance and the wastage in governance. Number 2, we would like to reform the governance and the bureaucratic system so that we deliver service excellence from government. Number 3, we want to restructure our economy to make sure that we are able to release all the mineral resources and natural resources from across the country by making sure that they have revenue that goes back to them in an equitable manner, which is 20% to the communities, 20% to the local government, 20% to the state, and 40% to the federal government. Lastly, we want to reorient our people so that Nigerians become the kind of people that you want to live with, you want to work with, you want to do business with, and you want to do business in. So for us, it's those 4 things. It's very simply reduce, it's reform, it's restructure, and most importantly, reorient. These are the 4 major things that we want to do in the field of agriculture, security, power, infrastructure, and most importantly, roads and rail, as well as our education, healthcare. But those things are all the investments we'll make. But the most important thing is running a government that is transparent, running a government based on integrity, running a government that will deliver excellence. And we do these three things because that is the values of the party, not just because it's a campaign slogan.
Now, Fela, every president has about 4 terms to fix things in Nigeria, 4 years to fix things in Nigeria, and possibly 2 terms. Now, when it comes to reading out those promises, something Nigerians want to hear, how are we sure you can hit the ground running, considering the fact that Nigeria is just coming out of a recession, resources to carry out many of these things, from infrastructure to even the jobs that you promised to your 10-point agenda and all of that, would be a problem, knowing that Nigeria is deep in debt and we're not generating enough?
Okay. And that's a brilliant question that you have asked us. And, it's actually everything that you've said anchors on the last of the very many things you said, which is Nigeria is just not generating enough. The way I try to describe Nigeria, I describe Nigeria like a stone in a catapult that somebody is holding back deliberately, and what you just need to do is to release that catapult and the stone will go forward. I believe very strongly that the world is waiting for a Nigeria that will work, for a Nigeria that is led, not ruled, by people who want Nigeria to work, who know how to be able to change the orientation of Nigerians, and especially in the civil service, to remove bottlenecks. And this is what I have done for the last 27 years of my life, especially in the private sector. And it's to help businesses that were not doing well transform and turn around into profit and begin to get into market leadership. It's helping them to change the culture of the people. It's to help them find how to cut processes and do business process reengineering. These are the things that I have done as a management consultant. So there are things that need to be done in government today, but I've been doing them for the last 27 years. So my point is to say that we're ready to hit the ground running, but the most important thing is how do we make sure that taking the bottlenecks out, making sure that we have investor-friendly policies, how do we make sure that Nigeria is able to earn more? And the simple way is this: release every local government to be able to generate more from its own resources. And that is what we're going to be pursuing. We're making sure that every community has 20% of the revenue that comes from the resources that is taken from them. The local government has 20% of that revenue, the state has 20% of the revenue, and the federal government has 40%. If I have one more quick minute, I would give you an example of why it seems like Nigeria is not generating enough. Nigeria has gold in 11 states across Nigeria and in 28 local governments across Nigeria. One of the local governments that Nigeria has gold is a local government called Atakumasa East local government. And in a town called Ikberindo, one of the towns in Atakumasa East, there are 7 basins of gold. One of those basins, it has a proven reserve of up to 1 million ounces of gold. 1 ounce of gold goes for $1,232 on the international market. So in one basin in Ikberindo, in Atakumasa East local government, you've got gold worth $1.2 billion. And guess what? Oyo State still can't pay salaries. Oyo State is barely generating enough internal revenue that can't even generate 100 million naira in revenue. Now, what does this mean? Very simple. It means that Oyo State is sitting on a pot of gold, in fact, several pots of gold, but it's not able to activate that. What we're saying is you give Ikberindo a value, 20% of the revenue that you get from the gold, give Atakumasa East local government 20%, give Oyo State 20%, and let the federal government work with 40%. All of a sudden, all the other communities that have gold will begin to show the gold. The value of the economic value will come out from every community across Nigeria. We are such a blessed nation. We're so blessed, it's unbelievable. There's almost no nation that is as blessed as Nigeria per square kilometer. And yet, much of those blessings and resources are trapped in the ground and in the hearts of the people. We want to release those blessings, and then Nigeria will grow in an exponential way.
All right, well said, Fela. Do you think the Nigerian youth, and when I'm talking about the Nigerian youth, I'm talking about a typical Nigerian youth, truly supports the not too young to run bill? And aside from that, what has been their involvement so far in the elections?
Well, I would say to you, without a doubt, the young people of Nigeria fought and literally won a battle against the older generation that actually accessed power whilst they were young and stayed in power until they were old, and then told everybody else to go and sit on the sidelines. Quick statistics that I'm sure support what it is that you and I are talking about. You know, at the age of 31, Colonel Yakubu Gowon became head of state. At the age of 38, Major General Olusegun Obasanjo became head of state. At the age of 41, the current president of Nigeria, Major General Muhammadu Buhari, became head of state at the age of 41. And then what's happened is that over the years, these guys have stayed in power and then told everybody else to go and line up that you are too young to run. In fact, I believe it was former head of state, Ibrahim Babangida, who himself became head of state at the age of 44, who said that there was nobody in my generation that could rule Nigeria. And when the media people asked me, I said, yes, I agreed with him, that I pray that nobody in my generation will be able to rule Nigeria, because Nigeria had been ruled for 54 years at that time, and we had not actualized our potential. What Nigeria needed was not rulership. What Nigeria needed was leadership. And we can see young people leading in every, I mean, look at it. You guys are there doing amazing things. In media, you see young people. In entertainment, you see young people. In business, you see young people. Everywhere else in Nigeria where things are working, we see young people. The only place you don't find young people is in politics, and that is where things are not working. And we're saying, let young people lead the political sector, and let's get this thing working again.
All right, now, I'm going to go back to something that you said. You've been working with young people for a long time. And then a certain statement that was credited to you from your 10-point agenda is creating 12 million jobs in your 4 years. Am I correct? And then, of course, in the first year, you tend to create 3 million jobs. Now, this is a problem that Nigeria has been bedeviled with for many years, rather. So how do you intend to go about it? Many before you have made the same promises, but did not fulfill the promises. And then you're working with young people with GEMSTONE. What have you discovered about the young people in Nigeria?
So let me start with the second question, if you don't mind, because my experience with working with young people has dated back as far back as 2004. So for the last 14, 15 years, I've been working not only with young people, but also with older people, but mostly with young people, to discover what they have as a potential, because they are all, I mean, young people are, you know, estimates say up to between 50, 51, and some even people say 55 to 60% of the population of Nigeria. And so the strength of every nation, it's its young people. And they are the ones who have to believe in the future, have to invest in now, and be able to deliver the future. And I always say that the young people, for them, the future is not just a time zone that is yet to come. It's everything that we can do but have not yet done. It's all the things we can be but have not yet become. It's everything we can have but haven't possessed. My job has been to get young people to do 4 things, A, B, C, D. Accept responsibility for the future that they desire. B, believe in themselves and their capacity to create that future. C, commit today everything that they have, their time, their energy, their resources, in a dedicated way to deliver that future. And so this has basically been my leadership mantra for young people. And we've seen young people start businesses, young people lead sectors, create, disrupt the economy. Young people have done so many amazing things, you know, and I'm just so proud of the Nigerian young people. They're resilient people, they're amazing. And today they have now accepted responsibility for the most important part of their lives, which is their governance. And so we've seen young people today support our campaign in ways that is literally unbelievable. Young people have been the ones contributing to this campaign, many times contributing 500 naira, contributing 200 naira, 2,000 naira. Area boys. Just a couple of days ago, there's a video that went viral that was shown in Uyo, where a young man who was standing by the street selling wristwatches, barely had about 12 wristwatches that he was selling by the traffic light, saw my picture on a poster that was or the car that was driving, stopped them and said, "This is going to be my president." And he took one of the wristwatches and said, "This is my donation to him and to his campaign." Young people have been doing amazing amazing things for this journey. They've been volunteers. So, and more importantly, the young people have gone to get their voters cards. And this is what I think is panicking the older political class, because today young people have become waken up. And as you know, 84 million registered voters today, 22 million students, which is why I believe that they're trying to keep the students out of school to disenfranchise them. But don't worry, young people have been taught, if we can't find a way, we will make a way, and we will make that way. Young people are taking over. Our future has come, a new Nigeria is here, and we will deliver it.
All right, now let's talk about democracy in Nigeria, and compared to other African contemporaries. How would you be able to rate Nigeria in terms of democracy? Do you think we're actually practicing the real and the true definition of democracy?
Oh, no, I don't think that we are yet practicing the true meaning of democracy, because, I believe democracy has best been described by one of the sages, especially leaders in the United States. Democracy is defined as the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And many times what we find out is that what we have is what sometimes I call cabalocracy, which is the government of the cabals, for the cabals, and by the cabals. Sometimes I call it selectocracy, which is where the cabals select for the political parties who it is that will run on those platforms, and they decide who it is that has the right to represent the people, and not the people themselves. So we don't have internal democracy within the political parties. Let me quickly just say what the consequences of this anomaly is. Remember that in the United States, when Barack Obama was running in 2008, Hillary Clinton was the preferred candidate of the establishment in the Democratic Party. But the people had the right to choose who would represent them, and they came out, voted for Barack Obama, and Barack Obama got the candidacy. You remember that just about 2 years ago, then candidate or aspirant Donald Trump was not the preferred candidate of the Republican Party, but the people voted. In Nigeria, they are still selecting through a delegate process that is rigged who is going to become the candidate. Now, what that does is that it's giving power to a group of people who believe that they are the ones who made those who are elected, and it's not the people. The second thing is that they are also then mobilizing money and using it to buy votes. What that does is to make sure that they have to get their money back, which means corruption will never leave the current framework that we have in democracy today. And secondly, the people have to remain impoverished so that every time you come back, you are able to give them the same amount you gave them the last time, and it means the same to them, which means poverty can never leave this selectocracy system. And the last one is that you must make sure that the people are not able to get enlightened enough to take a good decision. They must be so hungry that their decision is going to be taken by their stomach, not their head. And so poverty is associated with this cabalocracy. So poverty, ignorance, and most importantly, the influence of money politics is tied to this cabalocracy, and we are breaking that. That's why Alliance for New Nigeria, my party, we don't have any cabal. We don't have any godfather. There's nobody that is there to tell you can run or you cannot run. It was a party that was created with this desire to have just what you call a level playing field. No one has ever been told you've got to step down. And for me, that is the face of democracy. That's a democracy that would lead us. It's the people within the party that vote to make sure that we get our candidates. That is going to be the real difference.
All right, Fela, I have a question for you now. You promised promoting a better tax compliance by reducing personal income tax and reducing the rate of company income tax. Now, we know that in developed countries around the world, taxes are normally high. That's the way the government can provide for its people. Now, how do you intend to bridge that gap between lower taxes and providing the needed infrastructure for Nigerians?
Okay. Well, the way to do it is make sure that people earn enough to be able to pay taxes that will then be able to fund the activities of government. Currently, what happens is that in Nigeria today, where the people are not earning enough. 23 million people are, or 23 million people are out of jobs. 10 million have never even had jobs, right? And you can see that another maybe 15 to 20 million people are underemployed, meaning Nigerians are not generating enough income. And so what we're doing is that we're, in a sense, trying to squeeze out of imagine if you had a towel that was barely wet and you're trying to squeeze out water from it. What you should do is wet the towel, and then it will be easy for you to, just with a little bit of pressure, water will come out. We are trying to get money out of people's hands who are not earning enough. We're not supporting them to grow, and yet we're trying to earn more money to be able to do things that normally, taxes should have been able to do. So what is it that we want to do? Two things. Number one, we want to help Nigerians prosper more by making sure that we release the economy so that the economy can grow, so that businesses can thrive, so that people can be hired, so that people will pay taxes and they can grow, because the economy is growing. That's number one. Number two is to make sure that you actually show people value for money for the taxes that they're paying. I keep saying it, that as long as people do not see that the taxes that they're paying, they can't see the effect of it, they don't want to pay taxes. Nobody likes to waste money. If I'm paying taxes, but the roads are still bad, I don't feel like paying taxes. If I'm paying taxes and I'm generating my own power, I don't feel like paying taxes. If I'm paying taxes and there's no security, and the police that I see on the road is really more extorting me rather than protecting me, I don't feel like paying taxes. So our tax policy is based around two things. Number one, in a sense, help the people earn more, but number two, deliver more value for the taxes that people pay. And you will find that people will be glad to pay taxes. Look, people leave Nigeria to go to countries that they pay higher taxes. In the United Kingdom, they pay taxes of up to, 40%? Right? And people would still migrate from Nigeria to a place where they pay higher taxes. Why? Because they're getting value for the taxes that they pay. So for me, I believe once we sort out the value and, more importantly, help people earn more, we will be able to fix our tax problems.
Fela, let me take you back to a previous question I asked about generating so many jobs in Nigeria. You said in 4 years you would generate 12 million jobs, I believe, for Nigerians, and in the first year, 3 million. What is your strategy?
Okay, thank you so much for taking me back to that question, and I'm so happy that you gave me the opportunity to talk about this. Let me first say that there are studies and surveys that have been done that show that today there is a link between those who have services and skills and those who need services and skills. And simply by connecting them, that we can create at least 3 million jobs in 1 year. And I would say this, ask anybody who's looking for a driver, ask anybody who's looking for a cleaner, ask anybody who's looking for, who just wants to buy something. In more developed countries, it's so easy for you to go online, it's so easy for you to find what you're looking for. There's no problem with that. Here, it's just so difficult for you to get somebody that you can trust. You want to get a nanny, it's so difficult to know where to go. We want to get a driver, you go 3, 4 months, 5 months. Meanwhile, there are drivers that are looking for work. There are nannies looking for work. And that's not all. There are professional services, people who do tax consulting, but there is no platform to be able to say, how easy can I find a tax consultant? So what we're saying is this: the first year, our job is going to be to clean up the database of Nigeria and make sure that we are able to find all the people who have the skills and make sure that they are on a database that can connect them to the people who need those skills. And in doing that, we know for sure that 3 million jobs will already be created. The second thing is that we are going to, as we talked about our Aspire, one of the major focuses we have is on the area of agriculture. Currently, we're doing just about 37% of our entire arable land use in agriculture today. And yet agriculture, as it is today, is providing something in the area of 60 million jobs. We know that 60 million Nigerians are going to bed hungry because More than 60% of what we currently generate is wasted between the farmland and the market space. So agriculture alone, by doing two things, number one, reducing the wastage to less than 5%, and more importantly, increasing our land use to about 55%. These are the two major tasks that we've given ourselves in agriculture. We will be able to generate another 10 million jobs. The last one that I want to quickly talk to you about is in the area of construction. Okay, we intend to ensure that for housing, we will double our housing development capacity, our housing construction capacity every year. It is doable. Nigeria currently needs between 18 to 22 million houses to be built, right? We've got the limestone all across Nigeria. We've got everything that we need. We've got clay for everything. We've got everything that it takes, right? All we need to do is to make sure that we are able to make housing a core element of our social development and economic development plan. So what is it that we want to do? We want to build 3.75 million houses over the next 4 years. And that's by simply doubling our housing development capacity. And to do that, we will need another 10 million people that will be working in the construction industry. And I can continue to go on. The estimate of 12 million is a very conservative estimate.
Please don't go on. We have some other questions for you.
Let us release Nigeria and let it grow. We will not, I promise you, we don't even have enough people to be able to build.
But we do have some
Nigeria.
other questions for you.
Yes, definitely, Fela. Now, let's talk about reorientation and how you've been able to relate with those in the grassroots, because those in the grassroots make a major part of those that actually voted at the forthcoming elections. So have you been able to relate with them in the grassroots?
Well, simply by visiting them. And if you go on my social media feed, you will see how, every time we go, and whether it's me going to them or even just stopping by, I've always, first of all, related very well with the people in the grassroots. And I think that there's something about what happens when they see someone who looks like what they want to be in the future, and that person is very relatable. And for me, that's what really bonds me to the grassroots, right? So I've always been, just last week, I was in Omo Ekiti. Omo Ekiti is almost 1 hour's drive within Ekiti from the capital city of Ado Ekiti, and you could see the love. You could see the people dancing with me. You could see the people. That's how it's always been. So by visiting them is how you get to connect with them, and then more importantly, by telling the people that they trust, the people who have been supporting them, the people who have been sending money to them, by telling those people your story, and those people then go and narrate your story also to the grassroots. And then, of course, by traditional media. The grassroots still listen to radio. The grassroots still watch television. And so, to a large extent, they see me on TV, they hear my message, they see me in real times, they touch me. No security agents anywhere. 2 days ago, I was in Uyo. I wasn't in the highfalutin areas of Uyo. I was in the market, in the muddy areas of the market, talking to the women. If you go on my Instagram page at Fela Durotoye, you would see all of that.
Okay,
so
Fela,
that's
quickly
how,
now.
by connecting with them, but more importantly, by showing empathy.
All right, quickly now. Your part in promoting peace during the elections. You know that in Nigeria we do run into troubled waters of violence and unfortunate loss of lives. What is your part in ensuring that this doesn't happen? And the fact that we're not looking for politicians to buy anybody's vote. We know you've been very vocal about that.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. Once again, think back. As far back as 2011, I was made a youth ambassador for peace, okay? And that's basically because of the work that I've been doing even prior till now. Just getting Nigerians to know that without peace we cannot have progress, and without progress we cannot have prosperity. So we've always done that. But more importantly, I also just signed up with the Two-Face Idibia Foundation and the National Democratic Institute to be, I signed the Vote Not Fight and the Elections No Be War campaign. I supported that with my voice, with everything, and more importantly, we also signed the peace accord in sometime, I believe it was in the month of December. I cannot recall, but I think it was December. But we signed the peace accord, and with that, my party has been committed to promoting peace and encouraging all our own supporters to make sure that we go to the ballot box in peace. We make sure that we help to generate and keep the atmosphere of peace, and we know that this is what it is that we can do. We'll continue to speak about peace throughout the course of this campaign, especially over the next 2 weeks.
All right. Thank you so much, Fela Durotoye. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. So we'll catch you around.
All the best.